Shai, I wanted to ask you about the two-way sequence, the block that you had in transition, and then it leads to the alley-oop that you throw to Hartenstein, and just the feeling in that moment, the competitive spirit of that moment.
Yeah, I think that was after I had a few turnovers. I wasn't pleased with myself. I thought we could have slammed the door in the game and really spread the lead. But I just tried to make an effort play. I can't remember what happened offensively, but I saw Tatum had a leak out, and I just wanted to. I was the last guy back and make a play. I knew I was going to either foul him or block the ball, turn out on a block. And then once he went down, I realized we had a 5-on-4. And just trying to make a play from there.
And Dub, you guys hold him to 27 points in the second half. Tell me about what you felt physically and just the connectedness of the group on that end of the floor.
Second half, we just got all of our switching and rotations down. First half, we just haven't played them in kind of a team like them and how they play. So I feel like both teams were trying to figure each other out, and they were doing a better job of it. But we got our schemes into the game, and just kind of our core principles. I feel like we kind of buckled down on that, and then from there it was just about competing and making the right play, keeping one shot, and we did that.
Shai, I don't know how you'd measure the amount of high leverage games you played in. I know you're 7 years in, but comparatively, those guys over there, Mark was just saying they've forged between playoff losses. They forged this level of I don't know, experience to be able to be cool in these type of games. But you came out with the first punch and almost wire to wire, gave them hell. I guess what is it about you that allows you to play like that from wire to wire in high leverage games?
I like to compete. At the root of it all, I like to go against the best and see where I stand, how good I really am. And that's all it comes down to. Like Coach said, they've done things that we've dreamt about doing, and there's no way to get there without playing teams and competing against teams like that. And that's what I wake up for. That's what I play the game for. And that's what tonight was about.
Well, I guess then I'd ask, where do you think you stand, league-wide?
Yeah, I'm pretty good at basketball.
It's kind of interesting. Different guys and teams are noticing you guys making these runs in the second half. Like the Knicks of the night, anytime you guys make a run, Thibodeau's calling timeout. Tonight, Mazzulla didn't really want to call a timeout until he just had to. Can you tell, when you're on the court and you guys are making this run, can you tell they know it's coming? Are they reacting differently? When you're on these runs in the third quarter or fourth quarter, taking over a game?
Honestly, I don't even know how to answer that question. When we're going on those runs, it just feels like we're out there by ourselves and we're just executing the game plan, sharing the ball offensively, being aggressive, and whether the ball's going in or not, it's a good feeling. But yeah, I when those things are happening, the other team is the back of our minds. We're just worried about ourselves, what we're trying to get into the game. We're executing at a high level, and because of that, we're good offensively, and we're rolling, and the energy's high, especially when we're at home.
They shot 51% the first half. They were mid-50s much of the first half.
Mm-hmm.
They finished 36. Was that just your defense picking up, or they missed shots? Which one was it?
Defense for sure. They had a lot of easy stuff around the rim in the first half, and obviously they had some size. But we, like Dub said, we figured out the switching, got more into contact with those, made them tougher shots. They shot a lot of threes. They always do, obviously. But, yeah, we just tried to make their lives a little bit more difficult, and we did so.
Shai, do you notice any similarities of playing off of Al Horford in Oklahoma City and now Hartenstein as kind of high post creators?
Yeah, both very skilled. Both, can see the game. Obviously, Big Al has been in this league a long time, has a lot under his belt. But yeah, Isaiah is phenomenal. He makes the game so much easier for myself. As soon as the game he got back, I could feel it. But very lucky to have him. I know the whole team is.
Shai, you were here when the team hit the reset button. Does it mean anything to be 30-5 right now?
It's cool. I try not to think about where we were or where we're going and just stay in the moment. So many things happen in between where we were and where we are now, and it's because at the end of every day, the whole team, the whole organization is plugged away at trying to get better, and we've done so. And I think that's the recipe for growth in life and not just basketball. That's the recipe for growth. And as long as we continue to do that, we'll continue to climb. It might not always be pretty, might not always come when we want it, but we will eventually get where we want to be if we continue to do so.
Shai, the other night in postgame, you hyped up this game. You were hyped up to play this game. Did you get what you want out of it, everything that you're looking forward to playing on it? And how do you prevent a letdown going on the road now?
Yes. We won, so I got out of it what I wanted. We played through some adversity, which is always good. Always learn from it. And then as far as going on the road, we just gotta. It's gonna be hard on the road to get off to the slow starts that we've been getting off to lately. So we have to kind of fix that. We gotta throw the first punch, especially on the road against good teams with their environment, their crowd behind them. It's gonna be a little bit of a challenge to do so. We just gotta make sure we get off to better starts.
Yeah, for either one of you, y'all talked about getting in those situations where you're in that zone where you feel like you're playing out there by yourself. But a lot of times you all are getting in those when you're down double digits, sometimes in the second half. A lot of times teams fall apart when they get behind like that. You guys seem to thrive in those situations. What is it about you guys that allows you guys to not only do that, but do that against really good teams like New York and like Boston?
Playing with sense of urgency. I think we do a good job of like jumping back into like what makes us good. Sometimes we kind of get the car off track and just trying to get it back. But I think just like sense of urgency, understanding what it takes to win, and as we've gotten older and we've been in a lot of those games, it's something where you just don't panic.
Kind of a follow-up on that. You guys, sorry, lost track of what I was going to say.
Go ahead, Michael. We'll go back to you.
Shai, going back to like the early days playing with Lou in the bubble, that game 7, it's sort of like built this lore of him being like a big game player. Tonight he starts out 0 of 8 and then turns it around, goes 4 of 6, I think. Hits some major big shots down the stretch. How big is it to have a guy like by your side like that who you know is sort of just ready for the moment?
Ever since Lou, I've known Lou to pick up a basketball, he's had this like unwavering confidence in his ability. And that's what we saw tonight, but that's who he is, like to his core. Like Lou has always been a basketball player who he like takes what the defense gives him and he plays assertive and aggressively. Like not obviously defensive, but not only defensive, offensive as well. And we saw that like even when we were like more in the rebuilding stage, Lou's had like 25-point quarters because of that. Like Lou's had big games. Now he's kind of suppressed his offensive role with the team, but Lou is very capable, and he knows that, and his unwavering confidence allows him to have moments like that, have spurts like that, and that's what makes him him.
You guys talk about being a really good defensive team, and Mark was in here talking about you guys, when you get below where you want to be, you do a good job of getting back on track. And it's easy to say you want to be a good defensive team, you want to get back on track, but what's the key, like being out there to actually go out there and do it?
We want to win, and the way I was taught to play basketball is to win, you must get stops. You have to stop the opponent more than they stop you, and that's where we hang our hat every night. 1 through 15 or however many it is, we know that defensively, if we do that job, we give ourselves a chance no matter who we play.
And then you guys are basketball junkies, and you know the history of the game really well, and you guys are kind of coming up on surpassing all those all-time great defenses. Does it feel like you guys are like one of those teams that you used to watch?
We know we're good defensively. Now, comparing and trying to, like, see who's better, like, we don't do that at all. We're worried about ourselves. We're worried about how we can be better in the first half tonight and plugging away at it like that. Like, comparing, well, it's pointless for us. they did what they did in the past, and we're trying to do what we do in the present.
Shai, just hearing you talk about, the other night, how excited you were to play this game. Tonight, you're mentioning that those guys have done things you guys dream of. I wonder, is it possible to use a night like tonight as a measuring stick for the game, but also call these games like one of 82?
Yeah, absolutely. Every game in the regular season, every time you step on the court, you get a chance to get better. You get a chance to compete, and that's what the game is about. So, whoever's on the other end doesn't really, it adds motivation, obviously, but at the end of every night, you get to compete and you get to get better, and you get to see where you stand as a team, and that's what the opportunity has been for us throughout the season. That's how we look at it. Now, who you play against adds a little bit more to the game and all that, but at the root of it all, it's just competition and a chance for us to get better. And we play 82 games in a season, and hopefully we've gotten better 82 times, and then we're ready for the playoffs.
Just along those lines, Shai and Jalen, how significant is this win when you look at just the way it played out? I mean, you guys are down by double digits. You fight back in the fourth quarter. You're up, you go on this huge run, and then you knock off the champs the way you did. How significant is this win when you really look at it like that?
It's not that significant in the grand scheme of things. It's one game. Now, we got better tonight, and that's what we're after every day. So it's significant in that way, but it doesn't hold any weight. The game's over. We'll learn our lessons. What we did good tonight, we'll continue to do good. What we did bad tonight, we'll try to erase it off the board and get better at it and keep it pushing. I think we have Cleveland next game, another really good team, and it's the next challenge. Try to be better against them.
Jalen, Jalen, what do you say about it?
Yeah, it's good to go up against teams like that. Obviously, given that they just won, but at the same time, it's a game in January. We're just trying to get better. But it is good to play teams like that. Again, we play Cleveland, where we can kind of test where we need to be at, and whenever the playoffs start.
For both of you, I mean, last year the big storyline was about afternoon games in terms of struggling early on in the season. And that, did either one of you kind of learn anything from last year compared to now of how to handle afternoon starts and a change in your routine?
Yeah, I think for me, it'll probably be a little different for him. He'd been in the NBA longer, but I think it was just more understanding when to go to bed, when to wake up, when to just have certain routines and move around and what needs to change for me to get ready for the game. And that's something that's been applied the past couple times. And I thought towards the end of the year last year when we had a couple, I think when we broke the little seal of actually not winning them, I had kind of found a good routine to get ready.
Anybody else? Schleck, you can go with the last one.
What'd you do? What'd you do?
Tore my ACL.
Oh,
damn.
Oh.
Jeez.
Sorry to hear that, bro.
Just your thoughts on the 15-game winning streak. Huh?
Doing what?
Playing football with my kids.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Anything for the
Scored a
kids.
touchdown. It's okay. Just thoughts on the 15-game win streak, and do you guys talk about this at all? What has that meant to this group?
It doesn't feel like it's been 15. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but we genuinely are so focused on every day that we don't feel like it's been a month and not losing. You know what I mean? We did some things good tonight, we did some things bad, and we're going to try to get better from that. And that's what it is every night, every game. And because of that, we've been able to string a few games together.
Does some of that come from the 0-0 mentality that Mark has imprinted on this team since day one?
Absolutely. That's been, for as long as I've been here, that's been the message, the formula. Sam came in, I want to say it was 2 years ago. It was him and Chet's first year. Chet was hurt, and they came in and said, we can be as good as we want to be, and we can't fast forward to the end of the season. We can't do anything about the past. All we can do is try to get better every day, and if we do so, we'll be where we want to be eventually. And I think the group has listened, and because of that, you guys see the product.
Lou, just tell me about the fourth quarter in particular, and just the execution that was required of your group coming off of all the energy that you put forth in the third to get right back there into the game, and what that took down the stretch.
Yeah, we had to finish the game. To give them runs, they make their run, we make our run. It got to a close game, so we just had a stack possession, and it went our way.
Just thinking back to that fourth quarter, some of the plays you made, I think back to, I think it was Derek White you kind of collided with, but you chased down that loose ball. You get the transition dunk. Just considering, the few minutes before that, you're guarding KP, maybe the officials are looking at that matchup closely. Like, what's going through your head to make a play like the dive, the loose ball, knowing all the variables going into watching you in terms of the officiating?
Just got to keep playing, I can't really worry about the refs. I just got to stay in the game and do what I got to do for my teammates. I felt like it was a good opportunity for me to go for that ball, and I went. But it's always a physical game. The refs gonna make their calls, which is it's whatever. But I just got to stay in the game and do what I got to do for my teammates.
And obviously you've been dealing with the finger thing for some weeks now, but you start 0 for 8 tonight. You finish, I think, 4 for 6. You make 3 threes straight. Do you think this is a performance you could have delivered maybe even a couple years ago?
I got more experience now. I couldn't tell you that for a couple years ago, but now I got more experience. I kind of know what it takes to win a game. I kind of know, what happens whenever I'm having a bad start. I know that I got to stay in the game and the ball gonna find me again, and a lot of trust to my teammates and the coach at the same time. Leaving me on the court just because they know I'm doing way more than just my offense. But I got to stay in the game and stay confident. I kind of know the shots I'm gonna get, and then the way they was guarding us towards the end, I knew the ball was gonna find me, so I just gotta stay in the game and shoot the ball with confidence.
Only allowed 27 points in the second half. What did you see from you guys that allowed you to turn things around defensively?
I felt like we just had to be a little bit more physical compared to the first half. We weren't small ball a little bit. It kind of helped, but we just had to compete and be a little bit more physical. That was it. I felt like it was a little too comfortable in the first half, and wish we just turned up the energy in the second half, and it went well for us.
For you individually defensively, we were just in here and I asked Mark about Jalen Brown. He gets 21 points in the first half on 8 of 12 shooting. Second half, he goes 0 of 7. Doesn't have a single set except for 2 turnovers, and I asked him what was the key, and he said putting Dort on him. So what did you see that changed in the second half, and what's it sort of like, I guess, switching on or guarding a guy who's sort of already got it going?
Well, it's not just me, it's the whole team. One, and like I said, the physicality was, I felt like they was too comfortable in the first half, which he was a big part of it, and just had to amp up the physicality a little bit, get into the ball a little bit more, and and then really trusting the shell and the hell behind us, and then we did that in the second half, and it worked.
Lou, what's going through your mind during that sequence of Shai's where he blocks Tatum in transition and then turns around and throws the lob to Hart?
Momentum plays. Whenever we go on a run like that, plays like that, helps. And just having your best player, doing it on both ends is crazy, The fact that he went up for that block and stay in the game and make another play offensively it's amazing. And it just brings the energy up for the whole team.
Speaking of the energy of the game, you've literally played it where no one's been in the building during the COVID years. Just talk about the crowd tonight and kind of what they do for you guys. You guys are about to go on the road, but they were pretty crucial both against New York and tonight.
Yeah, they're doing a lot. It's amazing, honestly, from looking back from that COVID year where, it was empty now to how loud they get and how they cheer for us. It give us so much energy anytime, good game, bad games, anything, good start, bad start, they always got our back, and then we really love them and we appreciate what they do every game.
Lou, you switched back here, Lou.
Yeah, I see.
You switched on to Jalen Brown in the second half. What's that process like? Is it like super simple? Like coach just tells you that you're gonna get Jalen Brown, or like is there a conversation that happens? Like how does that happen?
No. I kind of did it on my own, honestly. He had it going, and then we were switching anyways, and then I was like, you know what, let me start on him. So I did that, and we got so many great defenders, so we were switching anyways. But just me starting on him, being a little more physical, that was my approach, and he had the second half that he had, but that was my approach going into it.
Lou, over the course of your career, you've hit a number of big shots, starting with the bubble one, then you hit that one against San Antonio here with no fans. Over the course of your career, it's been sort of this growing lore of you being like big game Lou, some fans are calling you, and stuff like that. But Shai was talking about you've been that way since the day he met you. Is that something that you sort of just have always had, or is that something you developed growing up?
I feel like this something I always had in me, but with experience it just developed, just knowing the game more, just being in those positions more. Whenever it's time to make a big play, I just got to stay confident and ready to expect the ball or anything like that. I have been playing with guys that attract so many attention, so at some point, I know the ball's going to find me, so I got to be ready for it. So, credit to my teammates whenever we get in those type of situations, they get to find me, and I'm always ready.
You mentioned all the good perimeter defenders you guys have. For a guy like you that gets up for these big-time games and playing against these big-time players, it's like a sigh of relief that you don't have to be the guy that has to guard the best player every single possession.
I don't want to say it's a relief. This whole defense thing is we doing it together. So, whenever I'm not guarding a main guy, I still gotta be aware of being in the help or in the shell to have my teammates back. So it's still not easy, but we switching so much and we're doing so much, but I always gotta stay aware on the court on wherever I'm guarding.
Lou, do you remember any similarities between how Al Horford would set you up and now Hartenstein in the high post?
Say that again?
Do you remember any similarities of like playing off of Al Horford, in Oklahoma City and now Hartenstein?
Yeah, two pretty good bigs. Really good bigs. Al was a good passer, and then it was my second year that was here with Al, and he was a really good leader, especially for me. The experience that he had and the players that he played with, and then he could have compared me to a couple players, and I just learned a lot from a guy like that, and it's just always good seeing him.
Mark, the three-point line is obviously a huge conversation when it comes to the Celtics. What did it take from your group to flip that tonight and win that battle?
Tricky because there's a variance in basketball, and I'd be careful rushing to too many conclusions in a single game sample. I thought in the first half we got good threes that didn't go down on a lot of plays, and I thought that contributed to being down 10 on our end, and I thought they got some decent ones in the second half that didn't go down. But in terms of what we could control, I thought our physicality in the second half was completely different. Our disposition was completely different on that end of the floor, whereas in the first half they kind of went where they wanted to go. The ball went where it wanted to go. And against a team of that caliber, you're going to be giving up 65 points and a half when you allow them to do that.
And then your second unit, the bench, was really productive and seemed to turn the game significantly end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth. What did you see from them?
Great confidence. I thought Jay Will went in there with his chest out. Wiggins, again, great second half performance from him. Isaiah was stable. K-Rich gave us solid 3 or 4 minutes to start the fourth. We turned the game there to start the fourth with Shai on the bench for that unit. Did a great job of getting a lead. But 1 through 9, everybody that went in the game tonight contributed to the game.
Mark, you were just talking before the game about, having to compound efforts and in light of missing a guy, you've been missing Chet for so long. How have you guys sort of compounded efforts to kind of mimic or replace him? And I guess what did that take tonight against this Boston team?
Well, like I said before the game, it's never like one for one. It's not like, this guy's out, so you need, this guy to do exactly the same thing. You just need the whole to be better than the sum of the parts, depending on who the parts are. And the guys tonight did a great job of playing together, working again through the game together. It wasn't a perfect game. I don't think we were ourselves in the first half, and we pulled together in the second half. And again, it's been a theme this week at parts of the game where we could have frayed. The guys relied on each other, trusted themselves, and we have to be who we are, in these games. And I thought we were that in the second half.
Obviously, Shai's 7 years in, but like his sample of high leverage games maybe isn't as big as other players because you guys have really been looked for this year, but you guys have been maybe this good since last year. Like, what is it about him that makes him so ready for these high leverage games from wire to wire?
I think confidence, the work that he's put in. I wouldn't underestimate the amount of games like this we've been in now, for the last couple of years. And it's not just him. We're all in the process of forging ourselves into an actualized team. That's an actualized team. That team has been the best team in the league for a couple of years. They've gone through playoff hardships. They've got 8 years of experience with their core. And they've gone through a lot of ups and downs and had to persevere in those to forge themselves into the team that they are. And in the first half, they just outclassed us on that, of calling it like it is. And we are in the process as a team, not just Shai, not just one guy. We're in the process as a team of forging ourselves into whatever version we're going to be. And these experiences are important for us, regardless of whether or not we, play a first half where we're 10 points worse or we play a second half where we're better.
Mark, where specifically did you see the differences in physicality in that second half? Because in the first half, it did seem like they were pushing you around a little bit, and that script flipped in the second.
It was everything. I mean, it was point of attack defense. It was we were switching a lot because of Porzingis, and those switches were sloppy in the first half. They were tighter in the second half. They're trying to post the mismatches. First half, they just no pressure on the ball, no pressure on the catch. Second half, more pressure on the ball, more pressure on the catch, and that allows you to get your help in the game. And so it's not complicated, and I thought that was the case against Minnesota the other night. We were down at halftime. They kind of moved the way they wanted to move. Third quarter, the physicality, the pressure amped up. It's not schematic. It's nothing tricky. It's just, guarding your guy with great intensity and, again, being who we are. That's who we need to be. And in the first half, that's not what we were. Second half, that's who we were.
When you talk about flipping the switch, a lot of people think about offense, but you guys seem to flip the switch defensively. I don't want to minimize everything you do to just flipping the switch, but especially these last few games, what would you attribute that sort of flip to?
We're not flipping a switch. It's not that. It's we have an identity that we want to play to on both ends of the floor. No team stays in a perpetual state of that. When you're not where you want to be, you got to get back to where you want to be. And we were not where we wanted to be in the first half of that game tonight. And we reconnected to that in the second half. But it's not a switch. It's not a scoreboard thing. It's an identity thing, and we have to be who we are. And we have to know who we are, which I think we do, because that's why it looks like it's quick. And then we have to go be that for as many of the 48 minutes and as many of the 82 games we can.
Shai, the other night in post-game, just basically cut off a guy and said how excited he was to sort of play the Celtics. They won the championship. They wanted to show that they were this. After this is all over now, would you say it's a measuring stick game?
Every game's a challenge, and every game's an opportunity to get better, And so there's a different challenge every single night in the NBA season. Every game tests you in different ways. We have great respect for that team because of how impactful they are, how hard they are to beat, what they've accomplished, what they've endured to accomplish that. Like I already mentioned, that's a team that is battle-tested, and that's battle-tested together, and they've formed into a great team. That is a great team. And so to test ourselves in that way against that team, we love that challenge, but we love every one of the 82 challenges. The other thing I'll say is this week we've trailed at halftime 4 straight games, and our crowd's been unbelievable. When we go to Boston, we're not going to have that crowd. We're going to have an opposite crowd. They'll be ready to punch us back. But shout out to our fans this week too.
Andrew Schlecht with The Athletic. I'm sure you're not surprised by Lou Dort's mentality. He was 0 of 8 to start the game, finished 5 of 6 from the field. A lot of times we talk about his defensive mentality and how that translates, but tell me about his offensive mentality and how it's evolved.
Well, it hasn't evolved. He's always kind of been this. His rookie year, the Game 7 in the bubble, the guy had 30, because they left him open, and he delivered in that game. So he's always, when I say we have to be who we are, we have great confidence in our players. They have great confidence in each other. They have great confidence in themselves. And when we're not there, collectively or individually, we just got to tap back into that. We don't have to be any more than who we are. And he steps into those plays with great confidence, and has always been a gutsy player on both ends of the floor. He's just an elite competitor.
You talked about some of the adjustments and changes in the second half with the defense just as a whole against them, but Jalen Brown in particular, he starts out 8 of 12, 21 points in the first half. He goes scoreless in the second half. The only stats he records are 2 turnovers. What went into slowing him down?
We moved Dort on him, first of all. Dort started the game on Tatum, and Dort went to him once he got it going. And I thought Lou did a great job on him. And then just the overall temperament on that end of the floor and our disposition was just different. And, you guys talk about adjustments. It's not much of an adjustment. It's just, more pressure, more grit, more intensity. And we've got a level we can play at that, can really be good on that end of the floor that we weren't up to in the first half. And I thought we did a good job of correcting it.
Coach, you talked about this being 1 of 82, but just when you see the way that fourth quarter played out, execution-wise, just the way you guys were able to pounce on the NBA champions the way you did, how significant is this win?
It's 1 of 82. Like I told you before the game, every game's a different challenge. Every teams are, we're all playing running our own race. We happen to be bumping up against them today. We'll go our separate ways, so will they. It's the only game we got to play today. It was the most important game today, but there's 82 games. There's half the season left. The reason we're in the position we are right now is because we've improved and we've had our head down and been very present in the competition. And if we want to continue to improve, that's what we have to continue to do.
Shai had the play in the second half where he broke up the lob to Tatum. I know you have a team full of great defenders, but how much of what makes you guys defensively, the fact that you're the guy who carries the heaviest offensive load, embraces playing that end of the floor too?
He wants to win, and if you want to win, you have to do the invisible things. I thought his trust of his teammates in the first half, really all week. I thought, I think it was a Clipper game where what was the game where Jay Will missed all those threes? Clipper game? Yeah, I think he missed a bunch of threes in the Clipper game. Shai's throwing it to him early. The guy couldn't make a shot. He sticks with it. And then the next night we play New York, and Jay Will hits a couple threes. Tonight he hit a huge one in the third quarter. And I think that's like invisible play by Shai on offense. And then on defense, there's invisible plays if you want to win that you commit to, and he wants to win. So he's committed them. But, again, he's a great player. No one loves Shai more than me. But, we have a team full of guys like that, and everybody's doing that in their own subtle ways inside of their role. And that's why the whole is better than the sum of the parts.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Back to Lou switching on Jalen Brown. Correct me if I'm wrong, but him and Kaysen, I think they switched assignments last game also. Was that the plan going in, or is this how the game was going?
Well, there's things Kaysen does better than Lou on defense. So sometimes we switch those up, and it's because Kaysen has strengths for individual matchup. But Lou is a disruptor, and so when a guy's got it going, he's a great guy to put on a guy like that because he's disruptive. He's not reactive. He's going to make you deal with him. But he's had, if you just look at this season alone, the performances he's had defensively on people, this one won't get the same shine because he still ended up with 20 or whatever, but he's done an unbelievable job on the best players in the league, and he does it every single night. He's got his mouth shut. Sometimes he takes 2 shots in a game, and he does it. So, but yeah, we move the matchups around all the time for different reasons. It's not always, we don't always level Lou up to it. Sometimes we level Kaysen up to it. Caruso, Dub.
Mark, quick follow-up on that. I do wonder, what are the things you think specifically that Kaysen does better as a defender than Lou?
I'm not going to say it's almost like a knock on Lou if I say it. They all have different strengths. They all have different things that they do great, and they all have matchups that they handle better than the others. the fortunate thing for us is we have multiple point of attack options, so we can shift things around pretty readily. But they're all great players for different reasons, and we just try to leverage the strengths they have.
Last one. Go ahead. We'll go Joel, Cliff, then we go ahead. Go Riley.
I was just curious if you have any comparison or similarities to how you used Al Horford as a high post creator and now Hartenstein. Is that kind of a foundational skill or anything?
We've learned from every player we've coached. The system's evolved over time. We always try to bend what we're doing to the strengths of our personnel. We learned a lot the year we had Al, but no more than the professionalism he brought to the team and the way that he conducted himself, how positive he is, how focused on solutions he is. He's not cynical. That was a team that won 20-something games and never looking for something wrong. He had an unbelievable imprint on the team, more culturally than basketball-wise, as great of a player as he is.
Last question for Cliff, then we'll do players next.
All right. Yeah, you had Wiggins, shoot extremely well late against New York. You have Dort do it today. How critical is it when you have guys that are not your primary scorers have moments like that where they kind of, in a way, take over?
Yeah, we're not surprised when they do. They're really, really good players. And I think, like I was saying about the J. Will thing, when we continue to trust each other and throw the ball early, and trust the pass and trust the open guy, that allows guys to work through the ups and downs that are natural in shooting the basketball. And so the team's done a great job of that. So when you see guys like Lou turn around the second half, you see Wiggins turn around like he did this week, Jay Will on the back-to-back, it's a byproduct of the way we're playing and the trust that the guys have in each other. Thanks.